Hey, how you doing? It's Des Clark here, and I have been part of many a Hit Scotland event over the past few years, and I know as you do what a tough year or so it's been for everyone involved in the hospitality industry. That's why the Recipe for Recovery webinars have been such a success, and may I use the pun hit for many people. There you go, I've still got it, and I hope you enjoy this one as a way to bounce back, to recover, to go forward, and at some point soon get to this new normal that we keep talking about. Enjoy the webinar.
Hello and welcome to the sixth and final webinar here, the Recipe to Recovery with Hit Scotland. I am Jennifer Riek and I am delighted to be back here with you this week for the sixth week. Can you believe it? It has absolutely flown. But this week obviously has been very exciting with the opening of a lot of different businesses across the country. If that has been you, I hope it goes well. And if it's still to come, good luck as we go forward. If you have managed to take the time out of your busy schedule to join us live here in the Hilton in Glasgow this week, thank you very much, because today we are taking on the topic of motivation and inspiration, whilst of course continuing to focus on that theme of recovery as we bounce back from this pandemic. Now, I'm sure you're already aware we have done 5 fantastic weeks of webinar. If you have missed any of them, or maybe you just want to watch them again, I don't blame you, they have been wonderful, then you can check them out on Hit Scotland's website, you can check out the Instagram, and I think on YouTube as well. Search for Hit Scotland and you will find them there. They're definitely worth having a wee look at if you haven't had a chance just yet. But today, much more importantly, we have got lots to look forward to. We've got one speaker, we've got Penny Power, founder of Ecademy and pioneer behind LinkedIn, and we have got a bumper question and answer session with Penny and 3 of our Hit Scotland trustees as well. We really do have an action-packed hour ahead of us. So to formally introduce us today to the session, we've got Hit Scotland's Chief Executive, David Cochrane. And since it's the last webinar, I'm going to give him his full introduction because he has done amazing things since joining Hit Scotland in 2005. And Hit Scotland's scholarship and bursary programmes are estimated to return £1 million annually to the hospitality industry in new skills, in promoting best practice, improving staff retention and encouraging professional development. It's impressive indeed. David holds many fellowships and honorary degrees, and his achievements have been recognised with a Katie Award for his work in education and training. And I've definitely mentioned this every week, but I love it. He now has an MBE for services to hospitality in the Queen's Birthday Honours list, and hopefully he's not too embarrassed. Please welcome David Cochrane.
Thanks very much, Jennifer. No, it's very kind of you to give me my full Sunday introduction.
Absolutely.
But, I really appreciate that. And look, it's the end of the webinar series, so a huge thank you to you as well. It's been fantastic, and I think one of the biggest bits of feedback we've had is how well it's been hosted each week. So a big thank you from me and the industry. As you say, it's a special week. A lot of places are opening this week. We are very aware that not everyone is able to open this week, though. So as you've said, we wish kind of best wishes and good luck to all our industry colleagues for the future. It's also been quite poignant, the fact it's the end of our talent development programme, which has seen 2,000 people finish up last week, just in time before reopening, which again has given us a different platform. I think one of the big things I've learned from the webinars, apart from the inspirational speakers, is the fact that we've had people from China, people from Thailand, people from London. It just demonstrates that the world is actually quite a small place, and using technology really gives us that opportunity to explore and push the boundaries. Delighted today, we've got 2 great trustees live and 1 online. It's nice to have some company in the studio, but thanks for keeping us together. Thanks again to the Hilton. It's been a wonderful venue, and also our friends at Vision Events Glasgow who have kept everything going behind the scenes. So back to you, Jennifer.
Perfect. Thank you so much, David. As David said there, we've had some fantastic sponsors as well, which it would not have been possible to do without. So thank you so much to Skills Development Scotland, to Vision Events Glasgow, as David said, who have kept things running smoothly for the webinar here. Fantastic team. Red Unit, Recruit Genie and Hilton Hotels, where we have been very nicely located throughout all the webinars. So thank you to all of our sponsors. As I said, without them, we just couldn't have done it. So thank you very much indeed. Now, as they have been throughout the whole 6 weeks, the webinars are completely free. They're for access to everyone to hopefully help across the industry and hopefully there is something for everyone. But if you can and you would like to, then you can support Hit Scotland and text Hit Scot to 785, that's 70085, and donate £10. That's if you're possibly able to and you want to help, because all the money raised is going to go towards our resilience scholarships to help those adversely affected by the pandemic. So the number and the information is on our screen. I quite like doing this, the floating finger. Hit Scot to 70085. This is the last week, so if you've been thinking, I'll wait till week 6 to do it, now is your chance. If you possibly can, any money donated would be very much appreciated. So thank you in advance. Right, let's get stuck into our speakers today, because as I promised, we have got a great lineup for our final webinar. Remember, you can get involved in the conversation. You can do it on the chat function on sort of the webinar system. I've got it beside me as well on the laptop, so I can check if any questions come in. I'll try and keep on top of that. Ideally use the chat function, but there's a Q&A box too as well. Move your mouse, they should see them, so you can get involved in the conversations throughout. As you can see in the studio, which we're calling it, we've got Alan Halliday with us. He's a McDonald's franchisee, and we have got Chris Wayne Willis as well, CEO at Crerar Hotels. And also online, we've got Dale MacPhee, General Manager from the Waldorf, Astoria, Edinburgh. They are very kindly agreed to join us for the Q&A a wee bit later on. But first, I am delighted to introduce our speaker today, Penny Power. She's the founder of Ecademy and pioneer behind LinkedIn. Now, Penny called herself an accidental entrepreneur for many years, stepping out of employed work and into the risky world of business ownership, and it was a powerful learning. The catalyst for this was the opportunity Penny saw in 1998 for business people to connect online, creating the world's first social network for business, predating LinkedIn by 4 years. Named as the 65th most influential entrepreneur of 2019, Penny leads with a culture of open, real, and honest contribution to the audiences she speaks to. Her intention is always to make people feel stronger and more capable, and for them to see the opportunities that lie within their own ability to take personal responsibility and be a leader of their own life and business. Penny was awarded the OBE in January 2014. For her contribution to entrepreneurship in the social digital sector. She's an author of 2 books, Know Me, Like Me, Follow Me, and Business is Personal, and understands deeply about the need to manage our emotional and mental state and our personal brands in this highly connected and open business world. We're delighted that she joins us today. Penny, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here. I'm very excited. It's fantastic. I mean, to actually get the opportunity to speak to hospitality, the audience here at HIT, when we're all personally just so excited about the fact the world's coming out of lockdown, the country is. So thank you very much.
Perfect. Well, the stage is yours, so to speak. So thank you for joining us, and please go for it.
Wonderful. Well, hi everyone. I'm going to be using some slides, and I look forward to also seeing you in the Q&A afterwards. It is very special for me to be talking to you in Scotland. I actually spent every Christmas and every summer in Scotland because all of my family are from Scotland. So Troon and Eaglesham and Newton Mearns and Stirling, all of those places are really in my heart. So it really is exciting to be here with you today. So as I share my screen now, and hopefully you can see it now, and I'll just go to the slideshow. So really exciting actually to be the 6th member here, 6th person doing a webinar looking at a recipe for recovery. And this motivation and inspiration series, well, it sort of suits me that because my idea here is to share my experience of my own personal life as a business owner. And some of you will be within the sector and some of you will actually have full ownership of the business. And I know how it feels. And I know that this has been a really shocking time for everybody in business. But I want to share with you sort of my life full of purpose and drive, but I have had a lot of ups and downs, and as a businesswoman and as an entrepreneur. And that's made me stronger. It's built my resilience muscle. It's also helped me to actually achieve a better life through that adversity. So I want to give you that insight and how important your mind is in all of this. And I think there are certain things, capital in our life that we have to focus on. Obviously our financial capital, whether we're running a business or we're employed. It's how we manage our money and how we survive in that way, our knowledge capital, our skills and our expertise. But what I'm really interested in today is talking to you about your social capital and your emotional capital. And that's what is going to be the focus. And I really believe that we bring our whole self into business and into life. Our emotions. I was told over and over and over again, Penny, you're too emotional. My mum told me I was too sensitive. My first boss told me I was too emotional. But we are now in the times when having emotions are celebrated, actually. It's one of the ways that we build trust, and it's the way that we can listen to ourselves and understand ourselves. So emotions are really important. We bring our mind, obviously, in, the knowledge we have, how we manage our mind. We bring our soul deeply into our business life. And we also bring our body. And all four things here are things that I think we need to really be aware of and manage, and realize that as we walk into our business, we are bringing all four aspects of ourselves with us. There's a health warning here, which is I too talk about love in business. I'm personally driven to connect business hearts. It was shared earlier that I created the world's first social network for business. It was at a time when we had Friends Reunited and MySpace. There was nothing for business people to connect. And I said to my husband on the 7th of February 1998, sitting in a Pizza Express with our 3 little children, all under 5, why don't we create a place where people can be friends in business? And so I guess what you know now of LinkedIn and Facebook, it was about combining the two. It was about what people are as well as who they are. And we built it all across the world. And it was with the energy of love. And actually, I would say back in 1998, I got a few people saying love's not necessarily appropriate in business. And then as the time has rolled on, it's actually become more and more appropriate. And I want to talk about that more today. So my intention today is to help you to feel more in control, because you are in control of your life. Who else could be more in control of your life than you? But sometimes we feel life's gone out of control. And I know that feeling deeply. But hold on to this thought. You are in control of your life, and you can lead the life and business that you seek. That is really important, because when we often go through adversity, we go into chaos and we feel out of control, and other things take over us. Sometimes our emotions, sometimes people, sometimes tasks, they take over us. But actually, there is no one more in control of your life than you. We sometimes just don't give ourselves permission to be in control. But it does all start with you. Now, I was told, and I am going to talk about my journey in a minute, not in a self-indulged way, but just so that you can understand where I've been through and that I have empathy in this adversity. I was told once, sitting in a car alongside operations director of a company that I had just started, actually, and I'd got some investors in, and they were pretty horrible as people, and I had realized I'd made a bit of a mistake. And I was sitting with the operations director, and he said to me, Penny, you know, you're always such a happy person. Always. It's something that comes through when you walk into a room. I thought, very kind of you. Thank you, Russell. And he said, but I don't think you're as happy as you used to be. And I thought, well, that's true. I think people can pick up on that. And he said that he'd watched a documentary about happiness, and it was actually a global research study that had been backed by many governments across the world to look into happiness. And it boiled down to 3 things. 50% of our happiness is, are we happy as people? Are we naturally a happy person? Do we have a happy constitution? 10% is the achievement of the things we want. So I've got a picture of a bag here, but it might be the things that you say I want to buy. It might be an experience that you want to have. That's 10%, but that leaves 40%. And the 40% was, how much do we feel in control of our life? 40%. How much do we feel in control of our life? A lot of people, when we go into adversity, challenges, actually feel our life's gone out of control, as I've mentioned earlier. But we do need to get that sense of control back. And I want to talk a little bit more about that today. I really believe that when you deeply know who you are, it's much easier to know what you're about and ultimately what you really need. So when you deeply know who you are, it's easier to know what you are about and ultimately what you really need. And sometimes when things are out of our control, but actually there's so much more inside our control than we realize. So I realized my business life was actually making me unhappy. And I think when Russell said those words to me, it sort of hit me in the gut, because he was absolutely right. And I realized that I had been experiencing, actually at that point, 11 years of chronic stress. I'm going to unfold that a bit in a minute. And I realized that the only way that I was going to bring back that desire for my happiness was to make some changes, to embrace the adversity, to accept the adversity and move forward. Now, nobody knew me in that way. Nobody knew that I was unhappy. But what actually happened to me on the 30th of November 2017 was I had what's called a hallucinogenic panic attack. I had never experienced one of those panic attacks where you can't catch your breath. I actually didn't realize that I was suffering any form of mental illness. I was getting up every day. I was running a number of businesses. I was managing a lot of emotional problems that were happening around our lives. I was also managing the fact that our business had personally left us in over £2 million worth of personal debt, which is a story I share in my book. Chapter 2 is called Being Broken. I can't go into it in the time given in a lot of detail. But everybody knew me, public speaking, managing my team of people, everybody knew me as pretty strong. The hallucinogenic panic attack took place when I was actually delivering a speech to 40 people. And it was the day after I was in the middle of a crowdfund. And during the crowdfunding that I was doing for my business, a troll from my past had come into the community, and it had obviously sparked some form of what was diagnosed as a PTSD moment. I shook it off. I got on with it. I dealt with it. Next day, I'm pitching to about 40 people in a room, and the faces in the room started to morph into the faces of some trolls that I'd had in our past. And these were trolls that we had banned from our community because we didn't believe that we wanted any nasty energy inside our very beautiful community. So it was actually a really scary experience, but it changed my life for the better, because it helped me to realize that I needed to review myself. Because we often think that, sorry, my mouse is going a bit crazy. We often think that it's all external things that matter, but actually it's deeply inside ourselves is where we can gain control. And by deeply knowing ourselves and understanding ourselves, we don't have to change huge things in our lives, but it actually can change our outlook and therefore change our results. Now, I wrote a blog, weirdly enough, in 2002 called Emotional Wealth Leads to Financial Wealth, which is why I led our community on Ecademy, which grew to 650,000 business owners across the world. I led the community based on an energy of emotional wealth, based on an energy of love, of care, of support, of hope. And I told everyone that when you are emotionally centered and you understand yourself and you connect with people around who you are, your financial wealth will grow. And I have witnessed a lot of business owners that don't do it from that point. They work from the outside in rather than the inside out. But we want to get you to a place where you feel calm, where you have a place of hope, of a sense of purpose, a feeling of being in control, knowing the impact you want to have on others, feel very aligned to the values that you hold yourself, to feel creative, to look for solutions, not see the problems, to innovate, not see the adversity that you're going through, and have a sense of togetherness, not aloneness or loneliness, which is why HIT Scotland is so fantastic. You're involved in a phenomenal community where you know you're not alone. So there's a beautiful poem that you can Google, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it's called What is Success? And it's about what do you value? And I love this, so I'm going to share it with you here. To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and affection of children, to earn an appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to know that even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. That is to have succeeded. Now, I share that because actually with a lot of my clients, I sit down and I actually ask them to think about, what does success look like for you? Because we get very embroiled in the problem, we get very embroiled in the task, and we forget how much we are going to have an impact on the success of what we're doing, whether, as I say, whether we are employed or whether we're running the business. It is us that can create the success from deep inside us going outwards. And so let me just share a little bit more to deeply go into this. So what I am, it was nice the way I was introduced. It's very shiny, you know, the author of these books, a public speaker, OBE. I joined the tech industry in 1983. I'm 57 now. I've been an entrepreneur since 98. Yeah, founded the social network, founded also a digital marketing apprenticeship, which is now used nationally. I've had 23 years of helping businesses enjoy and thrive in their business. And I'm a public speaker. So that's what I am. That is my identity. But the real truth is that I'm incredibly emotionally open. My values are around family, love, and health. And I take those into my business in the way that I operate. My mission is to connect business hearts. I've learned to enjoy uncertainty, but it wasn't something that came naturally to me. I'm highly conscientious, off the scale, which has got me into so much trouble from a stress and overwhelm point of view. Can't let anyone down, but because I'm also agreeable off the scale and agreeableness, I have said yes to too many people. I didn't have the right boundaries around me. I have been financially broken. I have lived in fear and been driven by the wrong energy. I've had massive loss and adversity. I've now got a very strong resilience muscle, which I thank every day. But I am happy and full of gratitude. So that's who I am. And actually, if you look at the difference between the what I am and the who I am, it's much easier to see that we can get closer to the who I am than we can to the what I am. And the greatest unhappiness I witness is the gap between our truth and our identity, that gap that we hold on to. And when we start getting closer to our truth and we start operating much more in the who I am as a person rather than purely our identity of what I am in the world, it actually becomes a much easier place to be in. It is really the missing piece. Some of you may have read Brené Brown's book, Daring Greatly. It's a super book. In fact, it's the book of the month for some of our clients in our community. And she says, what you know matters, but who you are matters more. And that is really the theme of today. So there is never a straight line for anyone. And this is my very up and down life from 1998 to 2005, a huge, fantastic climb with Ecademy, amazing. Then LinkedIn and Facebook started to take control. And when you're an organically grown business and somebody comes in and says, actually, we've got £3 billion with investment in us, so everything we do is going to be free, you can imagine how that is going to rock your business model. So imagine you build your business and next door somebody builds a hotel or a restaurant or a cafe and says to you, actually, we're doing all the same things here, but actually we're free. So that really did mean we had to look deeply into the culture and how we ran as a business and how we made people feel. 2005 down to 2012 was another very tough period as we held on to our business, kept it going. The stress, the overwhelm, the financial risk, we went through some really tough years. And then we started to climb up again, and then we came down and up and down and up and down and up. The interesting thing is that life is in the transitions. And there's another great book I would suggest you read by Bruce Feiler, which is called Life in the Transitions. And he says that there's a major life transition that happens to us. And in fact, what he discovered was a world in which transitions are becoming more plentiful and the skills to manage them more urgent for all of us to master. The idea that we have one job, or one relationship, one source of happiness is hopelessly outdated now in a world that is so fast. But we all feel unnerved by any upheaval. We're concerned that our lives are not what we expected it to be and that we've veered off course, that life's gone out of order. But we're not alone on this because we are in a very fast-paced global world. And what he actually said was that we now live a life of non-linear. So that up and down is very normal for each of us. Each of us face dozens of disruptors throughout our life. 1 in 10 of those become, 1 of 10 of those sort of disasters become what he actually calls life quakes. And it's a massive change that our life goes through, and it creates transition. That adversity creates transition. He says that an average length of these transitions can be 5 years. And we can spend, in effect, half our life in an unsettled state. Now, I'm not sharing that with you to set the fear of God into you. What I want to say is that we have to learn to accept the uncertainty and prepare for it inside ourselves, because not all of our transitions are welcomed and are under our control. Some of them, like the pandemic, happens out of our control. And it's how we individually inside ourselves manage these transitions that's going to help us get out of these transitions. It's about taking some personal responsibility and moving on through it. So if I look at my transitions, I started Ecademy, closed it in 2012. I started another business. Major part of the curriculum was about how to connect with friends in business. Digital Youth Academy, it's a digital marketing apprenticeship. Then the government changed all of the ruling and governance around apprenticeships out of my control. Then I created a concept called the Business Cafe, which is actually an idea of having a cafe on the high street for business people all around community. But I couldn't get the funding, and that's another big story. In 2018, I then created Masterminds. My husband and I said, let's create something that's really safe, something that's 200 years old. It's offline. We meet, we go to lovely venue. We used to use the Landmark Hotel in London. And what could disrupt them? And then COVID disrupts it. How did when we weren't doing anything really innovative, and then that happens. And so in 2019, we launched small communities. And thankfully, when it came to 2020, we could take it online. But throughout all of it, my sense of purpose has never changed. It's always been to connect hearts in business. So we can have the same message, but we are using different vehicles. And sometimes we have to look at how we innovate and change what's in our heart to still deliver what matters to us, but we pivot our business in different ways. So I just want to go into a little bit of detail. I've talked about the financial adversity, but many of us will also experience some major life quakes that are caused, which cause us emotional stress. This picture here is actually our house, which when we bought it in 2000, we thought we would live in, and I'd have my grandchildren doing Easter egg hunts all around the garden. That was in 2007, and that's when we really lost a lot of our business, and it's a huge story around the investment and the banks and things. And this was us moving out of it. And it's 11 years before we were able to get into stability again around house. This is a picture of me holding my mother's hand, who lived 3 miles away from me. The last time I held her hand, she had dementia. At the same time we were going through financial challenges, we also had my mother's dementia. This is a picture when Ecademy finally was taken from us, bought for £1, really distressing experience, and completely changed. This is a blog that the owner put out when he actually then banned us from being able to go into our business again. This is a picture of my niece, who at the same time was getting married, the first baby I ever loved, my sister's daughter, who sadly 11 months after her wedding died of cancer within 8 weeks of diagnosis. This is a picture of my brother, who 6 months before he died of pancreatic cancer, actually was winning the gold medal in Japan in the Veteran Olympics. Then we had a vast amount of trolling. And then this is a picture which, I'm sorry if this triggers anyone, but I think you need to understand that it is possible to come through a lot of adversity. This is actually a picture of my daughter. She had just graduated from university, started working at Accenture in London, and was going off for a week to ski. And unfortunately, 3 days after this picture, I got a call from a hospital saying that she'd been brought in by ambulance and police, and she had been abducted by 3 men off the road and raped by one of them. And this is a picture of my husband doing a zero sign, saying that he is now through his chemo and no more chemo for his bowel cancer. So it's a hell of a lot of stuff, but I can honestly tell you that we have come through it. And no matter what financial or emotional adversity we have gone through, and each of us will go through these life quakes, we have maintained love and gratitude and happiness. And it might sound completely strange, but it is because it comes from within us. It is a life choice we make around how we handle adversity. So It's about what energy you decide to drive you. Are you going to be driven by love, or are you going to be driven by fear? And this is a picture of me and my daughter doing a TEDx talk where my daughter, who's the most phenomenal person in my life, when I got to her in hospital, she said, "Mum, they're calling me a victim. I'm a survivor. I'm never going to let this define me going forward." And she's now become an amazing speaker, an amazing person on this subject, and also building her own entrepreneurial business around helping people find their message when they want to have impact through their personal brand. What Hannah taught me was that a fear is in our imagination. Because if I had known that I was going to get that call at 5:30 in the morning, I would have built up so much fear. But actually, in the moment of adversity, we have a superpower that is so incredible that takes over us all. But we have to realize it's inside us and realize how much to embrace it and move forward. So 21st century communication is all about this social online world. The world of LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter was Ecademy. It was all these worlds. But our social capital is an incredible thing to grow. Now, the definition of social capital is allowing a group of people to work together effectively to achieve a common purpose or goal. It allows people to function together as a whole through trust, shared identity, norms, values, and mutual relationships. I truly believe as an individual, you can build your own social capital and it will see you through your life. Penny Power, that name, which I married into it when I was 24, I was Penny Ross before, a good old Scottish name, Ross. When I have built my name consistently alongside my business brand, whatever my life quakes are, whatever I have gone through, Penny Power, her values, what she stands for, who she is, the truth about Penny Power, not the identity, has been what's helped me through my life. And so that's not always easy. But what's interesting is we are more connected than ever before, but we are lonelier than we have ever been. I do a study every month through research. I've had over 1,000 people take this now. Over 65% of people say that they are lonely in business, but yet we're so connected. And so what that tells me is that your clients, the people that are going to walk through your doors emotionally, are actually highly likely to be incredibly lonely as people. Community has broken down massively in business and in our home lives. So when we look at social media that we all lean on, we've got Ecademy, obviously, then LinkedIn and Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, WhatsApp, Instagram, and now we've got this brilliant new medium, which I'm loving, called Clubhouse, which is an audio social network. We have the ability to broadcast, to put our message out, to broadcast as companies, to tell people how brilliant we are. But actually, what is very interesting is if they're lonely, do they really want to just hear how brilliant they are, that your business is? And I did a post about this, and this person wrote this as a comment. I have 21,000 followers on LinkedIn, 37,000 members of my charity UK group, 12,000 members of my education group, just under 5,000 friends on Facebook, around 4,500 followers on Twitter. Yet on a day like today, when I'm feeling really low and have strangely stayed off social media, I've only had 2 to 3 people to reach out to. We have become so disconnected, even though we are more connected. People are seeking to know that they matter to you. They want to have real conversations, feel real care, feel kindness, feel real connections, to be heard, and to know that they are really wanted. Now, what is fascinating is all of the social networks have introduced the opportunity for you to move from social media to chat. This graph here shows that how the orange line crossed over with the blue line, the orange line being the messaging app. People actually want to talk more, but too many of us just broadcast a post, don't even look at the comments on it, don't connect into it, don't actually engage. And then if we take that offline, how often are we really communicating deeply? Now, some of you will say, as a landlord, I jump across the bar and I get to know my clients. As a hotelier, I'm always talking to them. But this is a world now where it's never been more important that we do that. Now, there is a beautiful, beautiful phrase inside the book, The Little Prince, called, if you want to build a ship, don't drum up the people to collect the wood and don't assign them tasks and work. but rather teach them to long for the endless immensity of the sea. What's that saying is that don't build a business again just about the tasks. It's become a very, very regulated, scary world now in hospitality, and I really appreciate that. But going back to what Brené Brown said is, what you know matters. All the tasks matter, of course, but who you are matters more. So I had a great conversation with Chris Wayne Wills yesterday. It was fantastic. And he's got his incredible, he's one of your trustees, he's got his incredible business, hotel business. And I was looking online, and here's this wonderful post where it's about Chris and the stag. And I saw that from Sharon Lang, this comment saying, fabulous Rudo, I can vouch for the hotel, simply amazing places to stay and enjoy. It created a real connection when he shared that, and 207 likes and 18 comments. There's real community created inside these conversations that we can take further. Now, there is one constant in your life. When I look at my non-linear world, and that is, as I said, me, your brand, your name, you as a person. And your personal brand really matters in every interaction that we have. The way that I've created my background here perhaps matters. The way that I show up all the time in my business life, the way that I am in my constitution matters to my clients. It's about the impact you seek to have on others. It's about the words that bring people towards you. It's about the words that resonate with your clients. It's about giving love, not fear. It's about attracting that perfect client that you know is just right for your business. We all seek that intimacy, and that desire, as I say, for community has come back. So it makes me ask, what's the message to your community? What's the feeling you want to give everyone when we come out of lockdown? And the danger is that there are so many tasks in hospitality, so many regulations, so many feelings that as I step into somewhere, that I still feel I'm actually not wanted, because so many people in hospitality are staying in that fear, not love energy. Their staff are in fear. They're worried about the regulations. There has to be something in the front of house of everything in the retail environment and in the hospitality environment that makes us feel loved as we walk in, not makes us hit ourselves with fear. And it's one of my messages is that I would give. I'm not an expert in your sector, but I'm an expert client. I use hospitality a huge amount for my business communities. We have dinners, we have lunches, I run masterminds in hospitality, I go out with my family. I want to feel the energy of love when I step into that world, not the energy of fear and the regulations. So your greatest asset in your business will be your social capital. And at a societal level, it includes when somebody opens a door for someone, it returns a lost item to a stranger, gives someone directions, loans something without a contract. This is the definition of it. It's basically your social capital is the definition of love and kindness. It's doing things above and beyond the task that your business has to follow through. So the business world really needs you. We all need you. But don't focus on needing us, because we actually need you more, because we're lonely. Now, as I move towards the close of this, I want to talk now about the critical success is how we manage our own mental fitness. And this is about your emotional capital. So when people refer to the emotional capital of a company, this is another quote, they mean all the psychological aspects of resources of the company, such as how the employees feel about the company. So how do the employees feel, but how do you feel? And how do your clients feel? And it all starts with you and your personal well-being. Because if you're in fear, it's going to come through. If you've got your personal well-being to a state of calmness, of hope, of love, of control, then you will be mentally fit. Now, what I discovered at that 30th of November 2017 moment was I was mentally healthy. I felt strong. I looked at all this stuff about mental health. I thought, I haven't got depression. I haven't got anxiety. I'm not suffering any mental health issues. But what I did discover is I wasn't mentally fit enough. And that's like saying that I am here physically healthy, but we can all be physically fitter. And we have to work on that on a daily basis. So every day I have to think about what I consume, the nutrients I consume. I have to think about achieving a 3-mile walk. I do some yoga. I have to constantly think about my physical fitness, because in 10 years' time, I know the person I want to be in life and the goals I have around being 67. But what about my mental fitness? What am I doing every day to help with my mental fitness? And a lot of this comes down to whether we have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. And another book that I can really strongly recommend is by Carol Dweck, called Growth Mindset. Now, these slides are actually taken from a client of mine called Mary Gregory, who's written a book called Ego. And both of these subjects are really important, because the growth mindset is constituted in how we feel inside ourselves. We have a fixed mindset. We look for evidence that things are not going to be right anymore. We look for evidence that actually life is hard. We look for all the negative things to make us feel, actually, I don't need to change myself. The growth mindset says, I've constantly got to work on myself. I've constantly got to self-develop, constantly got to learn, and has this openness and adaptability. It has this attitude to what relationships are important around me that are going to help me. It's about meaning and purpose and what really drives us. It's about our relationship with ourselves and how we drive ourselves. And I know in the morning when I get up, no matter how much the external world is stressing me, if I can center myself back into a feeling of love and purpose for my clients, I will give them a great day. If I stay in a fixed mindset, in a fearful mindset, I won't learn, I won't innovate, and I won't give my clients the same experience. So there's a slide here, and I think these slides are going to be shared with you, that a fixed mindset is something where we really go into ego, where we want to look smart, where we cover up our mistakes, where we've got black and white thinking, where we avoid challenges, where we actually fear failure and adversity, where we push it away and we resist it. Whereas a growth mindset focuses on learning and embraces challenges. And this is what I have. So when I said at the beginning, when I showed you all of the challenges I've been through, I stay in a growth mindset. I stay in a place that I am not a finished product, that I expect certainty, that I expect things to change, that I am ready. I've got that resilience mindset, that I'm ready for things and I'm ready for what the possibilities are in the future. Now, what I discovered that actually created my hallucinogenic panic attack was that I had too much cortisol in our body. And if we don't look after ourselves and have an attitude of self-care, we will go into shock and we won't adapt. And I believe that there are 4 stages of shock. When the big blow that happens, which happened to us last March 20, we have the emotions that flow and need to accept it. We get fueled by something greater than fear, and then our happiness returns. And so I do believe that we have to work on our character and go from fear to excitement, go from needing certainty to loving uncertainty, from fearing assertive people, which I used to fear, to being more assertive, from not saying yes all the time, to having boundaries, to understanding what my business needs and what I need, to valuing myself, to having a growth mindset, from going from chaos to order and a sense of control, from loneliness in belonging, in business to belonging, from hopelessness to hope. So we can create happy moments throughout our day, no matter what happens. And I've got an image of 7 things here that I do. I call things a happy moment throughout my day: my cup of tea, my walk, my shower in the morning, my first coffee, feeding the ducks at the bottom of our garden. I fast until 12 o'clock every day and I have a really nutritional drink. I love to do a jigsaw to wind down. But I make sure that all these things are actually noted and say these are happy moments, because life is full of many things, many stressful moments. But if we know we're balancing them, recognizing, seeing things that are great, then we will have a better life, a more happier life. So one of the things I would love you to take away today is the importance of talking to others so that you know that you are normal, because everything I've shared here is not abnormal. My adversity, frighteningly, is not abnormal. We are all in a world of chaos, of change. Things happen to us. And if you create a safe place in your workplace for people to share how they are, that would be great. And your vulnerability yourself as a leader does not affect your credibility. So my message is today, we're about being self-aware and taking personal control, taking control of your mindset, appreciating adversity as a way to innovate, unlocking your superpower, live in love, not in fear, the power of acceptance and knowing that you resist things sometimes, taking care of yourself is the only way to really achieve sustainable success. Build your personal brand so people know who you are and what matters to you. Keep your tasks in your business back of house so that we as clients don't notice them. Create community and belonging for all of you, all that touches your business, all the people that touch your business, make them feel that sense of belonging, and support the local business community and become their hub. I'm sure there's a huge opportunity for that. And for some reason, my thing has frozen. I don't know why. Let me just go out of it. Anyway, I'm coming to the end now. What I would just like to say, which if I quickly do that last slide, I don't know why my computer froze then, is that love in business does exist. And I use the phrase a lot. I have 77 direct clients that I support through our community and a wider community of 3,000 people on a Facebook group. And I can tell you this, that once you start bringing the energy of love into business, it's very powerful. And I hope today, through my sharing, my openness, I hope you've had a sense of the fact that I've loved you for this hour. So thank you very much indeed. I'll stop sharing now and come back into the room for the Q&A.
Penny, that was amazing. What an incredible journey you've been on, and some brilliant insights and advice there. Thank you so much for that. It was really, really brilliant, very inspirational, and perfect for today. As Penny said, she is going to hang around for this Q&A, which we're about to go into, so thank you very much for that. But I want to introduce you quickly to the rest of our panelists, because if you do want to get involved, I've said it at the start and Penny mentioned it, we do have the chat function on the webinar. We've got the Q&A function, so please get involved, be part of the conversation, chuck any questions. There is no such thing as a silly question, so chuck that in there and we will put it to our panelists. But before we do that, I want to tell you a wee bit about each of our panelists. First up, we've got Alan Halliday, who's sitting just to my left. Alan is a McDonald's franchisee. As a successful businessman, Alan has operated as Regional Director, Scotland of Coca-Cola Enterprises Limited, Divisional Director at Brakes, and now runs his own business as a McDonald's franchisee. Alan Halliday joined HIT in 2001 as a trustee and supports the charity with his unrivaled expertise in sales, marketing and business development. And Alan became Vice Chair of HIT Scotland in March 2019. So thank you so much for joining us, Alan. And then another step to my left, we have got Chris Wayne Wills. I called him Willis earlier. It's definitely Wills. Sorry about that, Chris. Chris has got over 25 years experience in senior management positions in the hotel industry. His experience in Scotland includes being the general manager of the Roxburgh Hotel in Edinburgh, regional managing director for McDonald's Hotel, and during this time he was also chief executive of the McDonald Avonmore Resort and oversaw a successful extensive investment and repositioning project. He is now the CEO of Crerar Hotels, a high quality privately owned hotel group in Scotland whose purpose is to share the spirit of Scotland throughout all of their hospitality. And we saw some of that spirit in the stag and the pictures as well, looked amazing. Chris was one of the first recipients of the HIT Scotland Leadership Scholarship in 2008 and attended the General Managers Programme at the Cornell University. Chris became a HIT Scotland trustee in 2020. And again, thank you so much for joining us, Chris. And last but definitely not least, online, we are delighted that Dale MacPhee is joining us today. Dale is probably one of the most high-profile GMs in Scotland. She's in charge of Waldorf, Astoria, Edinburgh, the Caledonian. However, she began her career over 38 years ago as a front desk hotel receptionist in Canada, where she grew up and has worked in 6 different countries. She graduated in political science at Dalhousie State University and has worked around Europe for the last 23 years, now holds British citizenship, having arrived in the UK in 2004 and Scotland in 2013. She's worked for Hilton Worldwide since joining its luxury division, Waldorf Astoria 11 years ago. This was a significant milestone because she became the first female general manager within the division. So as you will see, we have got 3 fantastic panelists, and we're going to just delve straight into the Q&A. So please get involved at any point if you wish. I'll keep my eyes on the chat. But I'm going to come to you first, Alan, because obviously What has McDonald's done to support staff who are anxious about returning to the workplace? Because this has been a big week, hasn't it, to kind of get back out there and sort of inspire, motivate the staff to be part of it.
Yeah, I think the obvious things, I think a lot of people are doing around, furlough and bringing back people carefully, the investment in PPE, and we've cut down the number of people in the kitchens by half to take some of the pressure off. But I think the big things we've tried to do is trying to invest back in the people. So we've been using this time to engage people through training. We've got an employee assistance program, and that's basically an ability for any of them to access 24/7 to counsellors on finance or their own mental health or any subject really at all over 24/7. We've also invested quite a bit in training through mental health. It's become increasingly important and very obvious through this time. That's a big factor. And then we've been trying to engage them in as many fun activities as we can, some online and more recently actually in the restaurants themselves where we can do it socially distanced, which is pretty challenging.
Yeah.
So a number of different things across the piece.
And I suppose that's evidence there of some of the things Penny was talking about, of course. It's that making people feel they're not lonely, they're part of a team, and that you care about them as people, because obviously that's so important to get good results in your business. The people need to care.
Yeah, I think the thing I'm proudest of through this whole thing is we've managed to keep everybody employed through it in one way or another. Yeah. But when you know the backstories, their individual stories, that's what makes it very powerful. And keeping them connected and understanding what pressures and stresses they're under, it's just really important to try and engage with them on a personal level. Yeah, and that's what the managers really focus on, trying to do that.
And kind of similar thing for you, Chris. What has it been like to make sure that everyone's been involved throughout the whole process, that you've tried to keep people motivated, inspired, and also suppliers as well, which is such a big and important part of everyone's business? Obviously, we're seeing the glitzy reopenings, but suppliers are key to making sure that everyone's successful.
Yeah, very much so. I believe that with the team and with the suppliers, it's all about communication. Yeah. So it's really whether we were clarifying when we were going to open, in what format we were going to open. For us, from a hotel point of view, looking at projected occupancies. Certainly, we've been really busy during each of the stages of lockdown, and whether we're redeveloping menus and wine lists and making sure we bring the suppliers on that journey with us, because it's a partnership. There's no point in us opening and saying we suddenly need X amount of produce to be able to serve X amount of customers. They have to know as our businesses are ramping up, because things are gradually developing. So I think as long as those lines of communication are really open, it works in both ways for us all to be successful.
Yeah, and for you, during the last year, obviously, has it been a help or a hindrance to be an independent company? Do you think it's been a good thing for you?
I think it's a brilliant question. I think that versus an independent company such as us, actually, it's a complete advantage. For us, we consist of 7 hotels. We're a board of directors of 3 people. So our ability to move and be very agile in the changes. The pandemic is a level playing field. So whether you're flying whatever brand of flag outside your hotel or whether you are independent, really, it for me, felt like it came almost down to Darwinism, as in, it's not so much about the strongest of the species, but it's the most adaptable. Yeah. We were talking earlier on with Alan about adapting with delivery and those kind of things. And if you look across the last 13 months, the businesses that have adapted, reinvented themselves, looked at what was going on and how they can change and how they can take, in some cases, advantage of the situation. So for us, for the type of company we are, it's a complete advantage to be independent.
Being able to move quickly, I suppose, and pivot. We want to bring Dale in here, actually, because how do you see the events business changing after the pandemic, Dale? Do you think there will be a big shift?
I think in the short term, it will be very hybrid model. And I'll be honest with you, our inquiries have increased significantly in the last 2 weeks. So that's very positive. I think in the short term, it'll be a bit of a Zoom / face-to-face. But I do believe with the inquiries I'm seeing for 2022 that people want to get back to what they previously knew, because we are very much a people business and people want to connect again. And you can only connect so much electronically.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you work for a global brand. What learning do you think can you take from other countries?
We Waldorf is a very small brand and a very big brand, but I have to say our connections have been super over the last year, and we've become an even tighter group. And we are constantly on the phone sharing ideas, best practices, concepts, sales calls. So it's the fact that we've even gelled more together in the last year than possibly pre-pandemic. And I suspect that closeness will stay post-pandemic.
Yeah, do you think there has been positives to take out of the last year? Because obviously it's been tough, it's been tricky for a lot of people along the way, but it sounds like there might have been some good bits.
Yeah, we sit back and debate a lot because unlike most hotels, we've stayed open since last July. And my team, as Chris had mentioned, we reinvented ourselves quite well. And whether it's creating new takeaway delivery mechanisms, or we've opened up a new courtyard this week, I've allowed the team to sort of reset and re-image the goalposts. And we've experimented and played a lot. And the pandemic has been the worst thing that's ever hit our industry, but it has also allowed us to reset and reevaluate what we want to be moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll come back to you, Dale, because I just want to see what the guys think here. Chris, do you think that's true? Has there been positives from, I suppose, what has been a very tough period?
Yeah, I think if you were to take, for me, the word of the last year is arguably collaboration. I've personally seen more collaboration across the industry than I'd seen previously, and that actually plays into, I have a belief around co-opetition, which is we compete while we cooperate. Because ultimately, if we're successful, we consider ourselves to run the leading hotels in the locations where we have hotels. But if those areas need to be successful, the islands where we run a hotel, or the Highlands, for example, so if they're successful, but we're doing what we do well, then we will take advantage of that. And you really do see those relationships forming, and we very much all need each other in terms of whether it's back to the suppliers or the local visitor attractions, and just for us, the impact of tourism that we have on those areas needs people to work together.
Have you noticed the same? Has it been quite good at bringing people together, or has there been challenges there?
I think ultimately there's always going to be challenges, particularly around the way we had to communicate recently electronically. But I'd agree with Dale and Chris. That it's provided us with opportunities to really appreciate what we got, appreciate the people around us a little bit, and also to take a bit of a stop and a look at what is it we're doing. Could we do it differently? Is there a different way of going about this market? And trying to realise that connectivity both with our customers, but also with the people that are working for us. So I think there's been a lot of positives coming out. It's undoubtedly, as Dale said, been the worst thing that's happened to us, but I think we're a very resilient industry. Yeah,
you make it work, I suppose, which is great. I actually want to go back to Penny here, because I think that's quite interesting. From the three of our panelists, they're all saying that there are positive takeaways from what has been a very challenging and continues to be a challenging time. Are you surprised by that, Penny?
No, I'm not actually. I mean, they've articulated it brilliantly in the hospitality sector, positives, but I've always seen the adversity creates positivity in the future, because people have to innovate. They have to dig deep inside themselves. And I think people at home, spending time at home, has also been a lot of time for self-reflection as well. And maybe just a calming down of some of the ways that we lived our lives as well. Yeah. And I think a real need for community. I mean, I live in Farnham in Surrey. I can sense how much everybody's wanting to come out into the local community with one another. So yeah, I think there have been a lot of positives.
Yeah, I suppose this goes back to what you mentioned about transitions and disruptions, and we can see this maybe as a positive transition and a disruption to rethink and appreciate there as well what we have and what we want to go on to create. Can I just go back to, obviously you mentioned a lot of hurdles that you've had to overcome and lots of sort of sad and difficult times. Where do you get your inspiration to continue to be so positive? Because your attitude is incredible. It's great to see that positivity. But as somebody maybe watching, you're like, how do you try and create that mindset?
Oh gosh, I mean, I think I've always been very aware how short our lives are. It's I always remember people not liking getting older, and I think it's such a privilege to get older. For example, I celebrate getting older, especially when you've lost loved ones that died young. So I think it's just the filter I put on things. And also it's deeply knowing that what really matters, my values in my life, that I'm executing against those all the time. I think, and I think happiness always returns to me once you overcome a problem, because you've got such pride in yourself when you come through something. And I genuinely feel I talk to myself in a very happy way. It's just the way I am. I also don't want to be a drain on anyone. I quite like the fact that my husband stuck around for 31 years.
You are the complete opposite, Madeleine. Honestly, you're a ray of light. It's brilliant to see. I kind of want to go back and sort of deal with one of the things you mentioned about Hit Scotland and being a community and not being alone. How important do you think it is to have things like Hit Scotland, Alan?
It's been extremely important. It's that conduit that people are able to communicate through. I think we've been very good at trying to keep them active and engaged through this period.
Yeah.
Some of the courses we run online have been fabulous, and they've created little community amongst themselves from people who normally would never have the chance to talk together. And I think when we get back to whatever normal we have, they will then form these little groups face to face. So I think it's been enormously important just to keep the motivation, but also to keep people learning and engaged through it.
Yeah, and would you agree being part, why did you decide to be part of the Hit Scotland community, Chris?
Why
be a trustee? Get roped into days like today.
In terms of giving something back, fundamentally, you mentioned my leadership scholarship in 2008 was a very pivotal moment for me in my career in terms of the experiences that it gave me. And so feeling that I wanted to give something back and help emerging talent at whatever level sort of come forward. So that's what we're able to do in terms of the charity. And I also think that if you think about, we've just given out over 2,000 scholarships, which have been taking place this year. I haven't heard of any other industry that's doing that. So we're regarded as being hit by the pandemic most adversely, but actually the way that the industry has fought back and the way that David and the team at HIT delivered those is so admirable, and actually should be something we should all celebrate and give the recognition for the amazing work that's been done.
Yeah, I'm aware of time, but I do want to go back to Dale because I just want to get your thoughts on, again, Hit Scotland and that community side of the hospitality industry once again, that I think, would you say it has got stronger over the last sort of year or so?
Absolutely. You know, we are a people industry, and at some point in time in our career, somebody gave us a chance. So I think it's important to stay connected, appreciate the people you have, develop the people you have, and remain as close as possible.
Dale, do you think there will be a boom again in international travel when things open up, or do you think it will start to be more of a Scottish-wide thing? Do you think people will want to stay at home a bit more?
I think it'll be a slow build-up, but I do think it'll be building up. I love the articles that reflect on a roaring 20s phenomenon, which would be great. But I'll be honest, I have some clients in Kentucky who come and stay with us every year, and they're over 80. They sent me a note yesterday. They've got their second vaccine. They're coming. They want to stay longer. So that fills me with hope.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was just going to finish on and let you have a final word on what you think is the best way to keep us all motivated and inspired going through what will be hopefully an exciting but potentially a challenging sort of few months and year ahead.
Yeah, listen, if you ask me where my inspiration comes from, it comes from my people and my team. And as much as the pandemic has been awful, the team has been brilliant. Yeah. And, you know, we are a people industry, and I love every one of them. And I love Penny's speech. And the first week of the pandemic, I've always said I'm a mother to 300 people. I have one son. But that first week when the pandemic hit, I was being asked, should I go home to Australia? Should I buy the house? Should I find a cheaper place to live? And I tell you, I became the best counselor on the planet.
And I'm sure your team appreciated that. It's a nice thing to hear. You've got such a supportive group to work in and be there for them. So thank you so much for your time today, Dale. We're running out of time, I'm afraid. I'm just going to go to Penny quickly again in terms of people sort of going forward, if they've maybe got to start a business or they're going back into business. How do they keep that motivation and inspiration alive, Penny?
I think it's just keep a really strong hold on why you do what you do. Simon Sinek wrote the book, Start With Why. It's a powerful book. I talked about how I center myself every morning around the impact that I want to have on others. And I think that if we have that, if we start with our emotional aspect of why we're in business and then just keep pushing that, if we focus purely on financial capital, it's always going to look tough. If we can find that energy within us and just know that you'll come through it, you really will come through it.
Top inspirational. Again, Penny, thank you very much. And thank you for taking the time to join us today. It's been an absolute joy to speak to you. Thank you. I'm going to finish off with just a couple of questions here in our studio, our Hilton ballroom. Chris, do you think the pandemic will see a major shift in labour market? Do you think things will change within the hotel and the hospitality industry?
I think there was an inevitable shift coming in terms of Brexit, which is obviously widely reported. And obviously it is reported around job losses that have occurred. but obviously now, really, as Dale was touching upon, we're entering into, I think, what will become a combined staycation that crosses into an international market as things develop in the sort of coming years. What I really feel we have to do is continuously talk up and be positive about what an amazing industry this is to have a career in. Now, there has been commentators, if you like, if there's some industry thought leadership that could be negative about the way that restrictions have been applied and everything else, from my point of view, I see nothing other than opportunity. And the more that we are being positive, talking about opportunities, because if we talk about uncertainty and negativity, and you have a young person talking to their parents or a career advisor, and if the media that they're consuming is about risks in hospitality or tourism as a career, that isn't going to help any of us at all. We need to develop world-class teams to deliver world-class service. So for me, those are the changes, but ultimately it's about how we apply that change and how we make the most out of it.
Yeah, keep powering through the positivity. And the last word to you, Alan, in terms of that future, is it optimistic? Is it going to be good? You've got technology coming in, things like McDonald's as well. That's going to change everything.
Yeah, I think technology is impacting everything. The big change I've seen through this period is the way the consumer and customers engaging with it, and it's accelerating away like a train. So it's gone in our business from about 1% to over 30% in a year. But I think it's easy when you've got a big brand sometimes to talk about apps and click and collect. I think if I was out there thinking about, right, how can I get a piece of that? Because these big corporations don't do anything by chance. They research things. They know where people are going. So I would be thinking about, okay, how can I adapt? How can I steal a good idea and adapt that for me? So can I, create a database from my existing website or a competition in the paper? Can I start a delivery business using the delivery van that sits in the courtyard 90% of the time not doing anything, or engage a student to do delivery? So I'll be trying to think and steal the good ideas and adapt them for my own business. So I'd be very optimistic and just keep an eye on what people are doing in general in the industry, see who's getting traction, and then steal the idea, really. Good idea.
Like that. I like we're going to finish that off. Steal the good ideas out there. If you take nothing else away from today, get the good ideas and make them work for you. Thank you so much, gents. Well, that's it. We've run out of time. In fact, we've got a wee bit over again, so sorry about that. But thank you so much to all of our speakers today. They've been incredible. We've obviously had Penny Power, Alan Halliday, Dale MacPhee, and Chris Wayne Wills. So thank you to all of them for joining us. Thank you to all of our sponsors once again: Skills Development Scotland, Vision Events Glasgow, Red Unit, Recruit Genie, and Hilton Hotels. If you have missed any of the webinars you want to catch up, please do check out the Hit Scotland website, hitscotland.co.uk, and you can look up all the Recipe for Recovery webinars there. Thank you again to everyone who has managed to donate to us. If you are able and you can, texting the word HIT SCOT, HIT SCOT to 785 70085 to donate £10, and all that money will go towards our resilience scholarships as well, to help those adversely affected by the pandemic. The details on your screen now, so please, if you possibly can, send that text and help support somebody who really needs it. Thank you again to everyone who has done that. That's all we've got time for. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for joining us over the last 6 weeks. Really hope you've gained something useful. There's been some incredible speakers and hopefully lots of inspiration and motivation going forward into what will be a very exciting few months and year ahead. Each and every business obviously going to have a very different recovery, but hopefully it's going to be an exciting one. It's going to go well and we bounce back stronger than ever. So thank you. Good luck to everyone. And thank you again for joining us. Thank you from everyone in studio, from David at Hit Scotland, all the way over the other side of the stage from me. Thank you from him and the team, and hopefully we'll see you in person in the not too distant future. Bye for now.